Welcome to CinemaWorks Late Night. I'm your host, Rowan Westlick, and on tonight's episode, we have a film and TV producer who has been nominated for 2 Primetime Emmy Awards and has worked in the film industry with acclaimed Hollywood director and producer JJ Abrams at his production company, Bad Robot, on shows like Lost and Fringe. And most recently, she's working as an executive producer on HBO's sci-fi hit Westworld, alongside Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. She's known to be incredibly smart and talented and very funny. Please welcome Athena Wickham. All right, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into the film business? And you were in Dallas, right?
Correct. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And growing up there, I loved watching movies and television. It sounds a little crazy to say, but I didn't know you could work in television when I was growing up. It was kind of the 80s, so you just watched it, but I wanted to maybe be a director in movies. So growing up in Dallas, I had no ins in the entertainment industry, so I tried to get into film school. I got into NYU, into USC, and had to choose between those two, and so I just picked USC, went there for the film and television school, and just started taking classes and learning what I could. And
what did you study, like, specifically at USC?
You know, it was mainly theory classes.
Okay.
A little bit of, I took a couple production classes, you know, directed a couple shorts.
Okay.
I always thought I wanted to be a director, soon realized I actually didn't want to be a director at all.
And why was that?
Because I just felt like I preferred being the person behind the scenes to help put it all together for a director, if that makes any sense. And so I just started working right after college and gravitated towards that realm of like developing scripts and working for directors and writers and actually helping them bring their vision to the screen.
Gotcha. And so what was your first job in Hollywood? What did you do exactly?
So I graduated from USC without a job and panicked. I started interviewing at agencies, talent and literary agencies. There are a few, I guess the big ones are called ICM, CAA, and William Morris. Now it's called William Morris Endeavor, but at the time when I graduated it was William Morris. So I applied to be an assistant. Everyone said, after school, that's the place you go. It's almost like a grad school, basically, if you're in the entertainment industry.
Okay.
And I did that, and it's a really tough job. You work for an agent, and either that agent represents talent, like actors and actresses, or they will represent writers and directors, for the most part. And it's a tough job because you have to learn how to multitask. You take in a lot of information at all times on business deals, and you talk to different studios all day long, different executives, different writers, different agents, and so there's a lot of information happening all at once, and if you don't take it all in like a sponge and are able to repeat it back to your boss right away, you get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
To put it nicely. And so it was a really good learning place for me to learn. I didn't want to be an agent, so I just did it for about almost 2 years, and then after that I worked for JJ Abrams as his assistant.
Yeah. So can you tell us like how you got to be there and like what that was like working with him? You were more on the TV side of things with his company, right?
Well, at the time when I started working with JJ, I was incredibly lucky because I got that job right after he had wrapped a pilot called Lost, and a TV pilot, which means it's the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a show on the air called Alias, which was in its 3rd season at the time. So again, my luck could not have been better. And also, it was announced he was going to direct his first movie, which is called Mission Impossible 3 as well.
Right.
So when I started with him, I was on Lost and Alias while those were in full effect and going. But also I got to go with him for the next year and a half to shoot Mission Impossible 3 on set. So I was there in Italy and Rome and Shanghai and Los Angeles, just like shooting this huge movie, and I had no idea what I was doing, but he was a great boss, and I was his director's assistant basically.
Wow.
So I did a bit of both.
Yeah.
film and television.
And then you became promoted and as the development executive and producer at Bad Robot Company.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Were you like killing them with your skills? And
Sure. No. No, what I usually say to people is, I think in the business, most of the jobs that come up are on site, and that just means you have to kind of be in the right place at the right time. But if you're not working your ass off, can I curse?
Yeah.
If you're not working harder than everyone else, doing the most mundane tasks, by the way, and showing that doing it all with a smile on your face, then when those job opportunities do come up for promotion or whatever, they're not going to choose you. So I do think that while I was an assistant or whatever, again, no matter what the task was, you just kind of do it with a smile on your face and say yes and do it the best you can. And then when, in my case, JJ got a deal in television at the time at Warner Brothers, which is a studio, and he got a deal at Paramount Pictures for features. And he said, okay, do you want to get promoted? And I said, of course. And I was lucky enough to land on the TV side of things, just because I like the way TV works. I like at the time, you know, we had Lost on the air, and it was, you know, right when Breaking Bad was starting, and those kind of amazing television programs that you just don't see in features as much anymore.
Right.
And so that's kind of why I gravitated to that side of the business, if you will.
Okay. Can you tell us what maybe about one of the craziest days on set you've had?
So funny. I'm trying to think of something entertaining. I mean, this is not, I don't know if this is that exciting, but...
maybe a Mission Impossible 3?
Well, Mission Impossible 3...
Anything crazy?
I mean, the crazy thing about Mission Impossible 3 was Tom Cruise would do all of his own stunts.
Yeah.
And so just to be on a set and seeing this huge, you know, megastar running off of a building, you know, and doing it 10,000 times and not batting an eye, I thought that was amazing.
Right.
You know, for a girl from Dallas, Texas, who never thought she'd end up in the business, to me, it was amazing and just a marvel.
Yeah.
Of itself. So.
And so you moved to Kilter.
Yes.
And to work with writer-directors Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy.
Yeah.
What made you interested in working for them?
Sure. So when I was at Bad Robot, I produced Jonathan Nolan, I call him Jonah Nolan's first TV show, because until then he had written movies with his brother Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
So he came to Bad Robot for a general meeting with JJ and said, actually, you know what, I don't want to talk about movies, I have a TV show idea. So I came into the meeting and he pitched this idea that became his first television show called Person of Interest, which is like a CBS show that ran for about 5 years. And I just loved working with him. He is a brilliant writer, amazing director, so smart with production and everything like that, but he's also a really good person. And then separately, I worked with Lisa Joy, his wife and partner, on another TV show that was her own idea independently of Person of Interest. And even just developing a project with her, I realized, oh, she's just as brilliant and amazing and lovely as he is. And so when the opportunity came up, they were going to start their own company, I thought, well, if I'm going to leave for anyone, it's going to be these guys.
Right.
So that's when I left and went over to Kilter about 5 years ago to start that company. And Jonah and Lisa co-created Westworld, so that was our first production.
Yeah. So how was it being a part of the phenomenon that it became, and like it was like, you know, like I'm sure there was lots of challenges.
Yes.
Can you describe kind of what
Sure.
that was like
Sure.
starting out? And
I think it was rewarding because there were a lot of challenges. That first season, the good word to use is challenge, to say the least. We had this crazy, huge Western sci-fi show that we all believed in and thought was cool, but it's not exactly an easy thing for people to, concept for people to take in and understand at a studio or a network. So there were a lot of conversations about what is the show, and we kind of stuck to our guns and kept making what we believed in. There were a lot of bumps along the way. So when we finally were able to air the show and it found an audience, that part was the most rewarding, I think, to actually have, you know, an audience and fans who wanted to watch the show, which is, again, the only reason why you make stuff, really, so that people can enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
And So when I was watching like the credits of the intro,
Sure.
I noticed there was a few co-executive producers. What was like your focus as one of those?
The first season?
Yeah.
You know, I think producers, it's such a weird word because, you know, what does that mean? I still to this day can't tell you what everyone does on a set, with the producer title, that is. So everyone does something different. For me, it's kind of the same project to project in the sense that I work for Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, and it's their vision that I'm trying to help execute. Like whatever is in their head, I try to bring out and help put on the screen in any way I can. And if that's crewing up, meaning hiring other writers for the writer's room, picking the right people, interviewing a lot of people.
So you're like casting for writers?
Kind of in a way, yeah. There's a lot of casting for writers and directors.
How do you choose who's?
Well, first it comes with the material, right? So I always get a sample, and I read a lot. As Carrie has before in the past too, and still does. So you read a lot of material, and I'd say for anyone who wants to get into, honestly, my field of development and producing, the best thing you can do is just pick up any script that's available and just read, just to learn, learn what's good, honestly, and what structure is, and just real raw talent. I think that's all you can do is just read as much as you can. I'd say the same thing for someone who wants to be a writer. Read everything you can, because that's how you're going to learn.
Right.
And just write, honestly, because the few things you write are going to be terrible. You just have to get that out of your system.
For sure.
And so basically I read if I think the script has something that's unique, or they have something they want to say, and if they surprise me, then I want to bring them in. And then we just sit down and meet. And honestly, half the job is also temperament. Because TV, especially, more than features, is such a collaborative process. And so you don't want to bring anyone into the fold who's going to be, for lack of a better word, crazy. And bring down the spirit of like the room and the ensemble. So even if someone's like the most amazing talented writer, if I hear wind that maybe they're not easy to get along with, and not in a obviously opinionated way, but in a more just being difficult to be difficult or mean-spirited way, we won't hire them.
Right.
It doesn't matter how talented you are, it's just not worth it. So that's kind of the whole process. So there's a lot of talking and digging around and meeting, and then we do the same thing with directors that we bring in for the episodes. And you know, you want to take a chance on new voices. So there's a lot of that, just trying to find people who haven't done a bunch of episodes of television, who just kind of want to break in. So that's a lot of the job. It's a lot of meeting, reading, watching, over and, you know, rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
over and
for
over
sure.
Again. Yeah.
So how is it different, like working with digital platforms like Amazon Studios, than going to than networks like Fox or NBC?
Sure. I worked in a lot of network television early in my career, if you will, and there's definitely, I liked it a lot. There's definitely like a process that is kind of nice. It's more like a business process, you know, like there are different steps that you take to get a show on the air, and there's a lot of communication back and forth at the studio, and making sure everyone's on the same page, and trying to, you know, a lot of times I try to be as much of a proxy for Jonah and Lisa as possible, so that they're dealing with more of the artistic, you know, the writing and the directing, and I can just handle the studio questions and what have you, all the politics, if you will. There's still that when you go to HBO or Amazon, but it's a little bit more of a, again, collaborative process. You know, it's a little bit more, you know, they want you to swing for the fences, they want you to be different, they want you to be bold. There's not as much, I don't know if this is fair, but fear as there are sometimes in network-based things. But again, you know, it's all relative. It kind of depends on who your executive is, and if you're communicating what the vision is, usually they'll trust you and let you go for it.
Right. And what separates HBO from, say, the other networks?
From the other streamers or the other networks, or just in general?
In general.
In general. Well, I think HBO is kind of like the grandfather of them all. You know, they've been around. They kind of definitely paved the way, I think, for everybody else. They're the ones who, you know, stormed the gates and made Sopranos and things like that, that we can all, that, you know, most other networks would never have made. And so they're the reason why people like Netflix and Amazon can come up and say, oh, we want to do you know, big thinking storytelling, and the narratives can be, you know, nonlinear and not what you normally see on television, because audience actually, they want to see that, and they can understand it. You know, there was a long time, you know, not too long ago, I should say, where networks definitely always said that the audiences couldn't take in anything that wasn't, you know, something they'd seen before, or like a linear storytelling, and now we're realizing that people actually want that. They want to be surprised, they want to be confused a little bit maybe, and they want to kind of, you know, unpack the puzzle.
Right, and I definitely got that in Westworld.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, sometimes it goes a little bit too far, but you know, you can try.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought one thing that was really interesting, that just commenting on Westworld, what Jonah, I read an article where he was talking about, you know, the process of the way he filmed it, like just the shooting non-handheld at the beginning for the character, and then going to handheld to like show when she got a consciousness. Yeah. And so like all these, like, I definitely feel like you probably have to find puzzle makers like him to help him.
Oh, absolutely.
On his team.
I never would have thought of that. That's all. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. And you just kind of say, and just kind of help them, again, bring their vision to the screen as much as you can.
And then let's talk about like the projects and materials. Like as a producer, like how do you take on or pass on projects?
Sure.
What's that process like?
Well, we don't, like the company Kilter, where I work, we now, our deal's at Amazon, which means everything we make going forward, except for Westworld, of course, that's still going to be at HBO, but everything else is going to be for Amazon. So we don't want to take on a lot of projects, just a few, because everything we take on we want to make and actually, you know, bring to the screen if we can. So honestly, it's about, for me, it starts with who the writer is, who the creative team is behind the project. If it's not Jonah and Lisa, because they're producers with me on most of these projects, they're not writing or directing them. So if a writer who I really believe in comes in with a clear vision, with a cool idea, then we're going to try to make it, you know, and Amazon has been backing us. Yeah. They've been very supportive and wonderful. So it's honestly about the talent attached, the writer and director. And then, again, whatever story they want to tell.
Gotcha. So having worked in TV and for a while, have you ever thought about like moving to produce a movie, change it up?
Sure. We actually just wrapped a movie that Lisa Joy wrote and directed for Warner Brothers last month. So that was exciting. Yeah, it's a fun thriller starring Hugh Jackman called Reminiscence.
Wow. And you, I think you mentioned that it was filmed in New Orleans.
It was, yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was a really great town to film in.
So what's been like one of your favorites out of all the projects you've worked on?
Yeah.
What's your favorite project?
What's my favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. I have a special place in my heart for a show called Fringe, which was like one of my first things that I was a producer on, in title, I guess you could say. And I loved making it. I loved the writers behind it. It was a weird, quirky, strange, out there little, you know, Fox show, but I loved making it, and I loved the actors in it as well. And then, of course, Westworld will always have a place in my heart, because it was such a hard show to bring to the screen, and but I'm just so proud of everyone involved in it.
Right.
You got it there.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like it just starting from the beginning, you know, especially seeing it come out, and now it's, you know, really doing well and successful. Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be pretty rewarding.
Knock on wood. Yeah. Third season's coming out, so hopefully it does well, but we'll see.
So we have quite a large RTF program here at Austin Community College. What kind of advice could you share to students who are wanting to be on like the production track that you're on?
Sure. Again, honestly, just taking any job you can out of the gate, in the sense if it's a temp job, or, you know, you're just getting, but getting coffee. Coffee's very important. Any task, like I said, no matter how mundane, just take the job, and again, do it with the biggest smile on your face, and do it better than anyone else can do it, because when the opportunities come up, and they will come up for, you know, jobs that are more of a promotion, you need to be there. You got to be in the room, and then you'll get picked.
Be on time.
Just be on time. Always be on time. Don't complain. Temperament is huge. Just that's what I would say most.
Don't kill the vibes.
Don't kill the vibes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. It's huge. Yeah.
Okay. For writers, students who want to be like writers, directors, what's something that you would want to share with them for advice, like on maybe after they graduate college?
Sure. Same thing. I mean, like I said, for writers, just write. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people say they want to be a writer, but I know for a fact they're not writing. You know, there's always an excuse to not find time to write. There's no excuse. You know, you wake up at 5 a.m. and you write for 2 hours, and then go to your day job, whatever it is. Just write as much as you can. And same thing for directors. Just continue to try to make things over and over again as much as you can, and be seen. And again, I would also say temperament. I mean, because people want to collaborate with someone who they want to, you know, share a lot of time with. And if you're not compatible or easy to get along with, then it's just not worth people's time these days.
Right.
It's a whole new world.
What's something that you wish you would have known after graduating college? Gosh, that's a good question. Or like something was there like any kind of advice you received while climbing the ranks in Hollywood?
Sure.
Someone that like shared something that really stuck with you? Or?
Sure. I mean, it was mainly along the lines of, I think I was very lucky in that, especially when I started working for JJ and then Jonah and Lisa, I've been very lucky that I've worked for really good people. And just knowing that you don't have to be a terrible human being to be successful. Actually, quite the opposite. You can be like a true artist and amazing, and be a good human being who has a family life and has your priorities straight. So you know, coming out of college, I had this image of the entertainment industry, which was actually quite wrong. And not that I wish, I'm happy that I learned pretty quickly that you actually can not have it all, but actually have your priorities straight and actually be successful.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would be the wrong image of Hollywood that people might mistake it for?
That there's, you know, a lot of screaming and again, people just treating you know, people beneath them, if you will, or at, you know, at a lower station, I guess, as they would think, in a demeaning way, which is not the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's the case in some places, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
What was kind of the culture shock for you though when you got into it? Like, what was something that you weren't expecting when you got into like some of your bigger jobs with JJ Abrams or something? Sure.
Again, I guess I wasn't expecting it to be such a thoughtful process and to be so humane. I mean, I know that, again, that sounds terrible that I went into it thinking that way and having such like a rough edge to it, but that it's a really, again, and it's silly because it's film and television, so it's not like it's, you know, brain surgery or anything truly great, but it is a hard, messy job that can take, you know, many hours in the day, and it can be stressful and all those things, but you can surround yourself with really good people again, and it doesn't have to be, you can be in the trenches with people who you respect and trust.
Right.
Yeah.
That's definitely most important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because like when you're working on like really intense stories or things that deal with like intense topics, you know, is there like a limit that you have that you kind of won't go past?
Sure. Well, I mean, just to get into it, I can't bring in material or work on material that has to do with anything terrible happening to children. I just can't do it. I can't take it. I can't watch it anymore. Having 2 little kids of my own, and in this world now, I mean, we've done some really dark material, don't get me wrong, you know, that I know other people can't really handle, but that's where I cross the line. I just can't. I mean, I understand why there's a story for it and why it needs to be said, but I can't handle it.
Right.
It's just not my thing. My husband's watching The Outsider right now. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I refuse. Yeah.
So I guess for the upcoming projects you have, the Peripheral, that's in the works. Can you tell us what stage you're at in that project?
That's based on a William Gibson novel called The Peripheral. And we hired a writer for that named Scott Smith, who lives in New York. Where we are on that, he's written the first 2 episodes. It's an 8-episode order. We have a small writer's room that have been meeting for the past month and a half. and they're writing the rest of the scripts, and we're hoping to have all done sometime in the summer. And then we'll start prepping, which means you start, crewing up, getting the production designer and the directors on board, figuring out where you're going to shoot it, and just doing all the prep work behind it, and hopefully that'll start shooting in the fall. So
can you give us anything exclusive about season 3 of Westworld premiering March 15th on HBO?
The show's premise is in a Western theme park in the near future, and I can just say that now the hosts, which are the robots, have now gotten out of the theme park, and now they're in the real world.
All right.
And about to wreak serious havoc.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Bad
I'm excited.
Things. Yeah.
So for season 3, can you tell us just like how much you were involved in do you, as a producer, do you have a lot of creative control on the project itself?
I mean, not control, but again, being so close to the creators of the project, I definitely get to read the scripts that they're writing and have whatever input. They can take it or leave it.
Right.
That's the best I can do, is just give my opinion. And again, they're wonderful and at least hear me out. But it's in pretty good hands, so it's not like I have too much to do. And then just kind of bring whatever they have on the page to the screen, however I can, however I can help orchestrate that, whether it's through hiring the right people, making sure we have, the right meetings in place to make sure the visual effects is talking to production design and all those other things. So it's kind of just a lot of communication.
Gotcha.
With a lot of different people.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And,
thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to CinemaWorks Late Night, and a huge thank you to our guest, film and TV producer Athena Wickham, for her time and insight today. We'll see you next time.